Because of our nonprofit work, a lot of times when I approach a group of high school students, I ask them 2 questions. The first one is, are you applying to college? So if you're applying to college now or sometime later, raise your hand. Oh, so I see pretty much a lot of the people here are doing this. Okay. And then I ask the second question, are you stressed about it? If you're not stressed at all about college applications, put your hand down. Oh, I still see a lot of hands. So as someone who has asked this question multiple times, I can tell you that this is totally normal. Nowadays, we're living in a society where applying and attending colleges are seen as social norms. And a lot of you guys are even considering options abroad. You're considering colleges in China, in the US, in the UK, in Australia, and so on. But somehow, along with all these available options, we're also accepting the norm that we're getting more and more stressed about college applications. Now, an appropriate amount of stress is actually good for us because it might push you out of your comfort zone, and us as humans, we perform better under a certain amount of pressure. But what most people don't realize is that chronic stress can lead to damage in mental health. If the stress is not managed correctly or appropriately, it might even lead to mental illnesses, and the effects of those can last well into college. According to a report in 2016 surveying American freshmen, 13% of them reported feeling depressed in the past year, and 35% reported feeling anxious in the past year, which is their high school senior year. So for these 35%, for 1/3 of our applicants, the stress of working towards the supposedly best 4 years of your life is actually affecting your enjoyment of the best 4 years of your lives. But why? Why is it this way, and why does it have to be this way? Is it truly worth it to stress ourselves out for college application and then to suffer the consequences in college? As someone who is one of those 35%, my answer is a hard no. A few years ago, I was one of you guys. I was in TEDxYouth First Girls, and I knew that I wanted to study abroad. So for some reason by then, my mindset about college apps is that I had to have the perfect resume to get into my dream college. And so very ambitiously made this very long list of things that I have to do in order to get into my dream college. Well, guess which 2 didn't happen? Actually, most of these didn't happen because as a human being, I couldn't handle all these at once. But I didn't realize it by then. And with every item that I didn't achieve, I blamed myself for it, and I had a lot of disappointment and negative emotions. Finally, when I was in junior year and I didn't finish my second SAT test, I got pushed over the edge. Later that year, I received diagnosis for major depressive disorder and even later generalized anxiety disorder. So when I look back at my high school life, I realized that there were signs showing that I was going to have a mental breakdown in junior year as early as the beginning of sophomore year. But somehow, because I thought that I had to do everything on that list to get into college, I didn't let myself rest or even take a break from everything. And was it worth it? My best friend once gave me an advice. She told me to not let yourself break down because it can take so much more strength to get back up. It sounds a little bit extreme, but I actually do believe in a notion. I am a college sophomore. It's been exactly 551 days since I opened my acceptance letter to Vanderbilt. And I am still healing from a mental breakdown in junior year. And the thing is, I already got lucky. I got lucky because my friends found out about my injuries, dragged me to my favorite teacher, and they forced me to get help. A lot of the people, they don't even have the opportunity. For them, and as someone who has been in their situation, they can be very, very close to doing damage that are irreversible or even giving up altogether. So this is why I am here today. I am here today because if I can help it, I don't want any of you, not a single one of you, to have to go through that ever again. I'm here today to warn you about all the things that can go wrong and how you can prevent them from affecting your mental health. And for those who didn't raise their hand back then, who say that you're not as stressed about college applications, I need you to listen too. Because there are people around you that need you to create that safe space. They need you to avoid getting into that dark stage. So I need everyone to listen, because for something like mental illnesses, awareness can lead to active prevention, and prevention is always, always better than problem solving and healing afterwards. So by now you can know that we're going to talk about depressing during college applications, but what even is college application stress? To answer that question, I've talked to current applicants, past applicants, constantly reflected on my own, and I came to the realization that I can actually sum up application stress in 3 words. Into the unknown. So for us humans, when we face the future and we don't know what's going to happen, we get nervous, we panic, or well, as Elsa did, she got so excited that she had to sing a song about it. So all this nervous energy is what we define as college application stress. And so de-stressing during college application becomes a matter of how we deal with the unknown. Unfortunately, there are a lot of factors that prevent us from doing so. The first one is the lack of resources. This one's pretty straightforward, but note that I'm not talking about information, I'm talking about resources, human resources and financial resources that can help you navigate all the information thrown to you about college applications. However, there are a lot of people out there that have no access to these resources. And what's worse, a lot of the information online might not be applicable for them. Did you guys know that in TFG in my high school, you can only have 1 official club? There are 10 spaces on the Common App. What do you do with the other 9? I had this really cute underclassman come to me and she was like, so I just have to fill my club name for 10 times, right? And I was like, wait a second. But as ridiculous and as naive as this question is, this is what a lot of high school students are facing. They're facing information that they don't know how to navigate, and they have no resources to navigate them. Frankly, you can say that for public high school kids, it's their choice, or our choice, including myself, to choose to apply abroad, but the resource gap exists, and the gap can create a lot of extra stress and anxiety. The second factor that can contribute to your application stress is the mental health stigma. Currently in Taiwan, the prevalence rate of mental illnesses under 18 years old is 25%. But according to another report, there are only 5% of the people who are getting professional help, psychiatric services from the government. You can do the math pretty quickly. That means 20% of our youth, 1/5 of them, they're not getting the professional help that they need at the moment. And there are obviously a lot of factors in play, but personally I would say that mental health stigma is still a big part of it. We still believe that sometimes when we encounter mental struggles, we have to overcome it in order to become stronger people. And because of it, when our bodies are telling us that we need help, we need rest, we refuse to do so because we think that we have to overcome it ourselves. This can be very problematic. Various researchers have pointed out that delaying treatment can result in language disability, aggressive actions, low self-esteem, and a lot of other damages that can be irreversible in life. The third factor that might contribute to your stress is false beliefs. There are a lot of college application myths, and the most common one is one that I just mentioned. We believe that there's a perfect way to get into your dream college. There are a lot of TEDx talks debunking this, so I'm not going to dive into the details, but essentially there are still people who believe that when we envision college applications, we should envision a list of things we need to check off. Extracurriculars, perfect volunteering experiences, perfect SAT scores. But when we think of everything as mandatory, of things we have to do, we place our well-being last. And this perfectionist mindset can cause a lot of stress. So after this very stressful conversation about stress, what can we do to decrease the stress? Today I'm going to tell you 3 ways, 3 things that you can start doing immediately, today or tomorrow, to decrease the stress that you're feeling for college applications right now. The first one is to help each other out. Now when I tell people this, for some reason some people tell me that they don't want to do it because they think that helping each other out means giving out your advantage, and in turn you will become disadvantaged in the college application game. But the truth is, the chance of you going head-to-head against the person beside you in college apps is extremely low. Let's do some calculations. So, in order for you to get into, let's say, an elite college, Stanford University maybe, you're envisioning a tree, the odds of you getting into this school is 7%. For the person beside you to also be able to get in, that is also 7%. So there is 0.49% of a chance for both of you to get into Stanford. And in order for you guys to be directly head-to-head against each other, the person beside you has to kick you off the exact spots of you on your college, on the placement list. So because of her or because of him, you're no longer a Stanford student anymore and you're rejected. What are the odds of that happening? I have no clue, and I don't think it's impossible, but I think we can all agree that the number is extremely, extremely low. So look at the person beside you, look around the room. With such low numbers, is it truly worth it to consider the person beside you an enemy in college applications? It's already a very stressful process, and you want more enemies? What if we do otherwise? What if we start talking about how we navigate college applications, how we study for our SATs? I mentioned earlier that college app stress comes from not knowing what's happening and facing the unknown. So when we all talk about what's going on, what we think will be a good way to navigate college apps, we all know a little bit more. So everyone can be significantly less stressed. What's more, when you share things, you foster relationships. According to a Dutch sociologist, an average friendship lasts for 7 years. Your college is 4. So start helping each other out. Help them in your classroom, help them online and beyond. Because although helping each other out might not be as rewarding as getting into Stanford itself, I'm pretty sure that Stanford will want you as a student instead of some geek that hides his 1600 SAT guide. The second thing that you can start doing tomorrow is to speak the hell up. I'm cursing to emphasize the importance of this. Have you guys ever tried holding your cough in or holding a sneeze? It must be pretty uncomfortable, right? What about when you have a fever? Usually, what happens when you have a fever? You go home, you have a sick day, or you go to the clinic to get some medicine. Would you ever pretend that you don't have a fever and pretend that you're not sick? Sounds pretty weird, but this is exactly what we're doing with mental health. We tell ourselves that we're not going to talk about our struggles because we think we're strong enough to overcome it ourselves. We think we're going to burden people if we talk about them. But when you have a fever, you go to the clinic. When you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. So if seeking help in dental health is acceptable, why is it not acceptable in mental health? I encourage you to start speaking up. Talk about how your day went, how stressed you are about college even. The only way to make mental health less of a taboo is to talk about it. On the other hand, the only thing that silence can do is to discourage help seeking when one truly needs it. Finally, the last thing you can do is to believe that it'll be okay. This is the cliche part when I tell you that, everything's gonna be fine, but I have proof. Here's a picture of me in high school. Compared to right now, it's pretty clear that I went through one hell of a glow up. But all jokes aside, I am so much happier because I know that everything will be fine. Nothing is mandatory for me anymore. And because things are not mandatory, I don't have to do anything if I think it's damaging for my well-being. I don't have to force myself to go to clubs that I don't like anymore. I don't have to force myself to become a leader just for the sake of being one. And the same goes for you. You don't have to get that A. You don't have to go to that club. You don't even have to go to college if you don't think it's right for you and you're not ready yet. Nothing is mandatory. If anything, the only thing that's mandatory is your well-being, because without it, you don't have anything. And maybe when we all start thinking that everything will be fine, we can enjoy the process of college apps a little bit. You're reflecting on the past 12 years of your lives, and you're looking forward to the next page. Into the unknown, the song becomes a very happy song in the end. It becomes also being brave and facing her future. It can be the same for you guys. Because ultimately, this is what college apps is about. It's not about winning a mandatory contest against each other. It's not about going into this mode. It's about us, young people, looking back at our education and getting excited for the new chapter of our lives together. Thank you.